Welcome back to the Seven Dials Mystery by Agatha Christie. The end is drawing near, and the fog of confusion is finally beginning to lift. Secrets have been exposed, trust has been tested, and now the truth is almost within reach. But danger still lurks in the shadows, and not everyone is who they seem. Get ready as we continue toward the thrilling conclusion of this classic mystery. The answers are close, but so is the final twist. It was 10 o'clock on the following morning. The sun poured in through the windows of the library, where Superintendent Battle had been at work since 6. On a summons from him, George Lomax, Sir Oswald Coote, and Jimmy Thesiger had just joined him, having repaired the fatigues of the night with a substantial breakfast. Jimmy's arm was in a sling, but he bore little other trace of the night's affair. The superintendent eyed all three of them benevolently, somewhat with the air of a kindly curator explaining a museum to little boys. On the table beside him were various objects, neatly labeled. Amongst them Jimmy recognized Leopold. "Ah, Superintendent," said George, "I have been anxious to know how you have progressed. Have you caught the man? He'll take a lot of catching." "He will," said the superintendent easily. His failure in that respect did not appear to rankle with him. George Lomax did not look particularly well pleased. He detested levity of any kind. "I've got everything taped out pretty clearly," went on the detective. He took up two objects from the table. "Here we got the two bullets. The largest is a .455, fired from Mr. Thesiger's Colt automatic. Grazed the window sash, and I found it embedded in the trunk of that cedar tree. This little fellow was fired from the Mauser. After passing through Mr. Thesiger's arm, it embedded itself in this armchair here. As for the pistol itself, well," said Sir Oswald eagerly. "Any fingerprints?" Battle shook his head. "The man who handled it wore gloves," he said slowly. "A pity," said Sir Oswald. "A man who knew his business would wear gloves. Am I right in thinking, Sir Oswald, that you found this pistol just about 20 yards from the bottom of the steps leading up to the terrace?" Sir Oswald stepped to the window. "Yes. Almost exactly, I should say. I don't want to find fault, but it would have been wiser on your part, sir, to leave it exactly as you found it." "I am sorry," said Sir Oswald stiffly. "Oh, it doesn't matter. I've been able to reconstruct things. There are your footprints, you see, leading up from the bottom of the garden, in a place where you had obviously stopped and stooped down, and a kind of dent in the grass, which was highly suggestive. By the way, what was your theory of the pistol being there?" "I presumed that it had been dropped by the man in his flight." Battle shook his head. "Not dropped, Sir Oswald. There are 2 points against that. To begin with, there are only one set of footprints crossing the lawn, just there, your own." "I see," said Sir Oswald thoughtfully. "Can you be sure of that, Battle?" put in George. "Quite sure, sir. There are one other set of tracks crossing the lawn, Miss Wade's, but they are a good deal farther to the left." He paused, and then went on. "And there's the dent in the ground. The pistol must have struck the ground with some force. It all points to its having been thrown." "Well, why not?" said Sir Oswald. "Say the man fled down the path to the left. He'd leave no footprints on the path, and he'd hurl the pistol away from him into the middle of the lawn. Lomax?" George agreed by a nod of the head. "It's true that he'd leave no footprints on the path," said Battle. "But from the shape of the dent and the way the turf was cut, I don't think the pistol was thrown from that direction. I think it was thrown from the terrace here." "Very likely," said Sir Oswald. "Does it matter, Superintendent?" "Ah, yes." Battle broke in George. "Is it, strictly relevant?" "Perhaps not, Mr. Lomax, but we'll like to get things just so, you know. I wonder now if one of you gentlemen would take the pistol and throw it. Will you, Sir Oswald?" "That's very kind. Stand just here in the window. Now fling it into the middle of the lawn." Sir Oswald complied, sending the pistol flying through the air with a powerful sweep of his arm. Jimmy Thesiger drew near with breathless interest. The superintendent lumbered off after it like a well-trained retriever. He reappeared with a beaming face. "That's it, sir. Just the same kind of mark. Although, by the way, you sent a good 10 yards farther. But then, you're a very powerfully built man, aren't you, Sir Oswald?" "Excuse me, I thought I heard someone at the door." The superintendent's ears must have been very much sharper than anyone else's. Nobody else had heard a sound, but Battle was proved right, for Lady Coote stood outside, a medicine glass in her hand. "Your medicine, Oswald," she said, advancing into the room. "You forgot it after breakfast." "I'm very busy, Maria," said Sir Oswald. "I don't want my medicine." "You would never take it if it wasn't for me," said his wife serenely. advancing upon him. "You're just like a naughty little boy. Drink it up now." And meekly, obediently, the great steel magnate drank it up. Lady Coote smiled sadly and sweetly at everyone. "Am I interrupting you? Are you very busy? Oh, look at those revolvers. Nasty, noisy, murdering things. To think, Oswald, that you might have been shot by the burglar last night. You must have been alarmed when you found he was missing." "Lady Coote," said Battle. "I didn't think of it at first," confessed Lady Coote. "This poor boy here," she indicated Jimmy, "being shot, and everything so dreadful, but so exciting. It wasn't till Mr. Bateman asked me where Sir Oswald was that I remembered he'd gone out half an hour before for a stroll." "Sleepless, Sir Oswald?" asked Battle. "I am usually an excellent sleeper," said Sir Oswald, "but I must confess that last night I felt unusually restless. I thought the night air would do me good. You came out through this window, I suppose. Was it his fancy, or did Sir Oswald hesitate for a moment before replying?" "Yes, in your pumps too," said Lady Coote. "Instead of putting thick shoes on, what would you do without me to look after you?" She shook her head sadly. "I think, Maria, if you don't mind leaving us, we have still a lot to discuss." "I know, dear, I'm just going." Lady Coote withdrew, carrying the empty medicine glass as though it were a goblet out of which she had just administered a death potion. "Well, Battle," said George Lomax, "it all seems clear enough." "Yes, perfectly clear. The man fires a shot, disabling Mr. Thesiger, throws away the weapon, runs along the terrace and down the gravel path. There he ought to have been caught by my men, put in battle. Your men, if I may say so, Battle, seemed to have been singularly remiss. They didn't see Miss Wade come in. If they could miss her coming in, they could easily miss the thief going out." Superintendent Battle opened his mouth to protest, then seemed to think better of it. Jimmy Thesiger looked at him curiously. He would have given a lot to know just what was in Superintendent Battle's mind. "Must have been a champion runner," was all the Scotland Yard man contented himself with saying. "How do you mean, Battle?" "Just what I say, Mr. Lomax. I was round the corner of the terrace myself, not 50 seconds after the shot was fired. And for a man to run all that distance towards me and get round the corner of the path before I appeared round the side of the house. Well, as I say, he must have been a champion runner. I am at a loss to understand you, Battle. You have some idea of your own which I have not yet grasped. You say the man did not go across the lawn, and now you hint. What exactly do you hint? That the man did not go down the path. Then in your opinion, where did he go?" For answer, Superintendent Battle jerked an eloquent thumb upwards. Said George. The superintendent jerked harder than ever. George raised his head and looked at the ceiling. "Up there," said Battle. "Up the ivy again." "Nonsense, Superintendent. What you are suggesting is impossible." "Not at all impossible, sir. He'd done it once. He could do it twice. I don't mean impossible in that sense. But if the man wanted to escape, he'd never bolt back into the house. Safest place for him, Mr. Lomax." "But Mr. O'Rourke's door was still locked on the inside when we came to him." "And how did you get to him?" "Through Sir Stanley's room. That's the way our man went. Lady Eileen tells me she saw the doorknob of Mr. O'Rourke's room move. That was when our friend was up there the first time. I suspect the key was under Mr. O'Rourke's pillow. But his exit is clear enough the second time. Through the communicating door and through Sir Stanley's room, which of course was empty. Like everyone else, Sir Stanley is rushing downstairs to the library. Our man's got a clear course. And where did he go then?" Superintendent Battle shrugged his burly shoulders and became evasive. "Plenty of ways open. Into an empty room on the other side of the house, and down the ivy again. Out through a side door, or just possibly, if it was an inside job, he stayed in the house." George looked at him in shocked surprise. "Really, Battle, I should feel it very deeply if one of my servants. I have a most perfect reliance on them. It would distress me very much to have to suspect." "Nobody's asking you to suspect anyone, Mr. Lomax. I'm just putting all the possibilities before you. The servants may be all right, probably are." "You have disturbed me," said George. "You have disturbed me greatly." His eyes appeared more protuberant than ever. To distract him, Jimmy poked delicately at a curious blackened object on the table. "What's this?" he asked. "That's Exhibit Z," said Battle. "The last of our little lot. It is, or rather it has been, a glove." He picked it up, the charred relic, and manipulated it with pride. "Where did you find it?" asked Sir Oswald. Battle jerked his head over his shoulder. "In the grate. nearly burnt but not quite. Queer. Looks as though it had been chewed by a dog. It might possibly be Miss Wade's, suggested Jimmy. She has several dogs. The superintendent shook his head. This isn't a lady's glove. No. Not even the large kind of loose glove ladies wear nowadays. Fit on, sir, a moment. He adjusted the blackened object over Jimmy's hand. You see, it's large even for you. Do you attach importance to this discovery? Inquired Sir Oswald coldly. You never know. Sir Oswald, what's going to be important or what isn't? There was a sharp tap at the door, and Bundle entered. I'm so sorry, she said apologetically, but Father has just rung up. He says I must come home because everybody is worrying him. She paused. Yes, my dear Eileen, said George encouragingly, perceiving that there was more to come. I wouldn't have interrupted you, only that I thought it might perhaps have something to do with all this. You see, what has upset Father is that one of our footmen is missing. He went out last night and hasn't come back. What is the man's name? It was Sir Oswald who took up the cross-examination. John Bauer, an Englishman? I believe he calls himself a Swiss, but I think he's a German. He speaks English perfectly, though. Ah. Sir Oswald drew in his breath with a long, satisfied hiss. And he has been at Chimneys how long? Just under a month. Sir Oswald turned to the other two. Here is our missing man. You know Lomax as well as I do, that several foreign governments are after the thing. I remember the man, now perfectly tall, well-drilled fellow. Came about a fortnight before we left. A clever move. Any new servants here would be closely scrutinized, but at Chimneys 5 miles away, he did not finish the sentence. You think the plan was laid so long beforehand? Why not? There are millions in that formula, Lomax. Doubtless Bauer hoped to get access to my private papers at Chimneys, and to learn something of forthcoming arrangements from them. It seems likely that he may have had an accomplice in this house, someone who put him wise to the lie of the land, and who saw to the doping of O'Rourke. But Bauer was the man Miss Wade saw climbing down the ivy, the big, powerful man. He turned to Superintendent Battle. Bauer was your man, Superintendent, and somehow or other, you let him slip through your fingers. There was no doubt that Superintendent Battle was taken aback. He fingered his chin thoughtfully. Sir Oswald is right, Battle, said George. This is the man. Any hope of catching him? There may be, sir. It certainly looks, well, suspicious. Of course the man may turn up again. At Chimneys, I mean. Do you think it likely? No, it isn't. Confess, Battle. Yes, it certainly looks as though Bauer were the man, but I can't quite see how he got in and out of these grounds unobserved. I've already told you my opinion of the 2 men you posted, said George. Hopelessly inefficient. I don't want to blame you, Superintendent, but his pause was eloquent. Ah, well, said Battle lightly, my shoulders are broad. He shook his head and sighed. I must get to the telephone at once. Excuse me, gentlemen. I'm sorry, Mr. Lomax. I feel I've rather bungled this business, but it's been puzzling, more puzzling than you know. He strode hurriedly from the room. Come into the garden, said Bundle to Jimmy. I want to talk to you. They went out together through the window. Jimmy stared down at the lawn, frowning. What's the matter? Asked Bundle. Jimmy explained the circumstances of the pistol throwing. I'm wondering, he ended, what was in old Battle's mind when he got Coot to throw the pistol? Something, I'll swear. Anyhow, it landed up about 10 yards farther than it should have done. You know, Bundle, Battle's a deep one. He's an extraordinary man, said Bundle. I want to tell you about last night. She retailed her conversation with the superintendent. Jimmy listened attentively. So the countesses know. 1, he said thoughtfully. It all hangs together very well. 2, Bauer comes over from Chimneys. He climbs up into O'Rourke's room, knowing that O'Rourke has had a sleeping draught administered to him by the countess somehow or other. The arrangement is that he is to throw down the papers to the countess, who will be waiting below. Then she'll nip back through the library and up to her room. If Bauer's caught leaving the grounds, they'll find nothing on him. Yes, it was a good plan, but it went wrong. No sooner is the countess in the library than she hears me coming and has to jump behind the screen. Jolly awkward for her, because she can't warn her accomplice. 2 pinches the papers, looks out of the window, sees, as he thinks, the countess waiting, pitches the papers down to her, and proceeds to climb down the ivy, where he finds a nasty surprise in the shape of me waiting for him. Pretty nervy work for the countess waiting behind her screen. All things considered, she told a pretty good story. Yes, it all hangs together very well. Too well, said Bundle decidedly. Ah, said Jimmy, surprised. What about no? Siete. No, 7. Who never appears, but lives in the background? The Countess and Bower? No, it's not so simple as that. Bower was here last night, yes. But he was only here in case things went wrong, as they have done. His part is the part of scapegoat, to draw all attention from Nell. 7. The boss. I say, Bundle, said Jimmy anxiously. You haven't been reading too much sensational literature, have you? Bundle threw him a glance of dignified reproach. Well, said Jimmy, I'm not yet like the Red Queen. I can't believe 6 impossible things before breakfast. It's after breakfast, said Bundle. Or even after breakfast. We've got a perfectly good hypothesis which fits the facts, and you won't have it at any price, simply because, like the old riddle, you want to make things more difficult. I'm sorry, said Bundle, but I cling passionately to a mysterious no. 7 being a member of the house party. What does Bill think? Bill, said Bundle coldly, is impossible. Oh, said Jimmy, I suppose you've told him about the Countess? He ought to be warned. Heaven knows what he'll go blabbing about otherwise. He won't hear a word against her, said Bundle. He's, simply idiotic. I wish you'd drive it home to him about that mole. You forget I wasn't in the cupboard, said Jimmy. And anyway, I'd rather not argue with Bill about his lady friend's mole. But surely he can't be such an ass as not to see that everything fits in. He's every kind of ass, said Bundle bitterly. You made the greatest mistake, Jimmy, in ever telling him at all. I'm sorry, said Jimmy. I didn't see at the time, but I do now. I was a fool. But dash it all, old Bill, you know what foreign adventuresses are, said Bundle. How they get hold of one. As a matter of fact, I don't, said Jimmy. One has never tried to get hold of me. And he sighed. For a moment or two, there was silence. Jimmy was turning things over in his mind. The more he thought about them, the more unsatisfactory they seemed. You say that Battle wants the Countess let alone, he said at last. Yes, the idea being that through her he will get at someone else. Bundle nodded. Jimmy frowned deeply as he tried to see where this led. Clearly Battle had some very definite idea in his mind. Sir Stanley Digby went up to town early this morning, didn't he? He said. Yes. O'Rourke with him. Yes, I think so. You don't think? No, that's impossible. What? That O'Rourke can be mixed up in this in any way. It's possible, said Bundle thoughtfully. He's got what one calls a very vivid personality. No, it wouldn't surprise me. To tell the truth, nothing would surprise me. In fact, there's only one person I'm really sure isn't now. Who's that? Superintendent Battle. Oh, I thought you were going to say George Lomax. SSH, here he comes. George was, indeed, bearing down upon them in an unmistakable manner. Jimmy made an excuse and slipped away. George sat down by Bundle. My dear Eileen, must you really leave us? Well, Father seems to have got the wind up rather badly. I think I'd better go home and hold his hand. This little hand will indeed be comforting, said George, taking it and pressing it playfully. My dear Eileen, I understand your reasons and I honor you for them. In these days of changed and unsettled conditions, he's off, thought Bundle desperately. When family life is at a premium, all the old standards falling, it becomes our class to set an example to show that we, at least, are unaffected by modern conditions. They call us the diehards. I am proud of the term. I repeat, I am proud of the term. There are things that should die hard. Dignity, beauty, modesty, the sanctity of family life, filial respect. Who dies if these shall live? As I was saying, my dear Eileen, I envy you the privileges of your youth. Youth, what a wonderful thing. What a wonderful word. And we do not appreciate it until we grow to mature years. I confess, my dear child, that I have in the past been disappointed by your levity. I see now it was but the careless and charming levity of a child. I perceive now the serious and earnest beauty of your mind. You will allow me, I hope, to help you with your reading? Oh, thank you, said Bundle faintly, and you must never be afraid of me again. I was shocked when Lady Caterham told me that you stood in awe of me. I can assure you that I am a very humdrum sort of person. The spectacle of George being modest struck Bundle spellbound. George continued, never be shy with me, dear child, and do not be afraid of boring me. It will be a great delight to me to, if I may say so, form your budding mind. I will be your political mentor. We have never needed young women of talent and charm in the party more than we need them today. You may well be destined to follow in the footsteps of your aunt, Lady Caterham. This awful prospect knocked Bundle out completely. She could only stare helplessly at George. This did not discourage him. On the contrary, his main objection to women was that they talked too much. It was seldom that he found what he considered a really good listener. He smiled benignly at Bundle, the butterfly emerging from the chrysalis. A wonderful picture. I have a very interesting work on political economy. I will look it out now, and you can take it to Chimney's with you. When you have finished it, I will discuss it with you. Do not hesitate to write to me if any point puzzles you. I have many public duties, but by unsparing work, I can always make time for the affairs of my friends. I will look for the book. He strode away. Bundle gazed after him with a dazed expression. She was roused by the unexpected advent of Bill. "Look here," said Bill. "What the hell was Cotters holding your hand for?" "It wasn't my hand," said Bundle wildly. "It was my budding mind." "Don't be an ass, Bundle." "Sorry, Bill, but I'm a little worried. Do you remember saying that Jimmy ran a grave risk coming down here?" "So he does," said Bill. "It's frightfully hard to escape from Cotters once he's got interested in you. Jimmy will be caught in the toils before he knows where he is." "It's not Jimmy who's caught. It's me," said Bundle wildly. "I shall have to meet endless Mrs. McCaddas and read political economy and discuss it with George, and heaven knows where it will end." Bill whistled. "Poor old Bundle. Been laying it on a bit thick, haven't you?" "I must have done. Bill, I feel horribly entangled." "Never mind," said Bill consolingly. "George doesn't really believe in women standing for Parliament, so you won't have to stand up on platforms and talk a lot of junk or kiss dirty babies in Bermondsey. Come and have a cocktail. It's nearly lunchtime." Bundle got up and walked by his side obediently. "And I do so hate politics," she murmured piteously. "Of course you do. So do all sensible people. It's only people like Cotters and Pongo who take them seriously and revel in them." "But all the same," said Bill, reverting suddenly to a former point, "you oughtn't to let Cotters hold your hand." "Why on earth not?" said Bundle. "He's known me all my life." "Well, I don't like it." "Virtuous William." "Oh, I say, look at Superintendent Battle." They were just passing in through a side door. A cupboard-like room opened out of the little hallway. In it were kept golf clubs, tennis rackets, bowls, and other features of country house life. Superintendent Battle was conducting a minute examination of various golf clubs. He looked up a little sheepishly at Bundle's exclamation. "Going to take up golf?" "Superintendent Battle? I might do worse, Lady Eileen. They say it's never too late to start, and I've got one good quality that will tell any game." "What's that?" asked Bill. "I don't know when I'm beaten. If everything goes wrong, I turn to and start again." And with a determined look on his face, Superintendent Battle came out and joined them, shutting the door behind him. Jimmy Thesiger was feeling depressed. Avoiding George, whom he suspected of being ready to tackle him on serious subjects, he stole quietly away after lunch. Proficient as he was in details of the Santa Fe boundary dispute, he had no wish to stand an examination on it this minute. Presently what he hoped would happen came to pass. Lorraine Wade, also unaccompanied, strolled down one of the shady garden paths. In a moment Jimmy was by her side. They walked for some minutes in silence, and then Jimmy said tentatively, "Lorraine?" "Yes." "Look here, I'm a bad chap at putting things, but what about it? What's wrong with getting a special license, and being married, and living together, happy ever afterwards?" Lorraine displayed no embarrassment at this surprising proposal. Instead, she threw back her head and laughed frankly. "Don't laugh at a chap," said Jimmy reproachfully. "I can't help it. You were so funny." "Lorraine, you are a little devil." "I'm not. I'm what's called a thoroughly nice girl. Only to those who don't know you, who are taken in by your delusive appearance of meekness and decorum. I like your long words, all out of crossword puzzles. So educative. Lorraine, dear, don't beat about the bush. Will you, or won't you?" Lorraine's face sobered. It took on its characteristic appearance of determination. Her small mouth hardened, and her little chin shot out aggressively. "No, Jimmy, not while things are as they are at present. All unfinished." "I know we haven't done what we set out to do," agreed Jimmy. "But all the same, well, it's the end of chapter. The papers are safe at the Air Ministry. Virtue triumphant, and for the moment, nothing doing. So, let's get married," said Lorraine with a slight smile. "You've said it. Precisely the idea." But again Lorraine shook her head. "No, Jimmy, until this thing's rounded up. Until we're safe. You think we're in danger? Don't you?" Jimmy's cherubic pink face clouded over. "You're right," he said at last. "If that extraordinary rigmarole of Bundles is true, and I suppose, incredible as it sounds, it must be true, then we're not safe till we've settled with no. 7. And the others? No, The others don't count. It's no 7 with his own ways of working that frightens me, because I don't know who he is or where to look for him. Lorraine shivered. I've been frightened, she said in a low voice. Ever since Jerry's death. You needn't be frightened. There's nothing for you to be frightened about. You leave everything to me. I tell you, Lorraine, I'll get no 7 yet. Once we get him, well, I don't think there'll be much trouble with the rest of the gang, whoever they are. If you get him, and suppose he gets you. Impossible, said Jimmy cheerfully. I'm much too clever. Always have a good opinion of yourself. That's my motto. When I think of the things that might have happened last night, Lorraine shivered. Well, they didn't, said Jimmy. We're both here, safe and sound, though I must admit my arm is confoundedly painful. Poor boy. Oh, one must expect to suffer in a good cause. And what with my wounds and my cheerful conversation, I've made a complete conquest of Lady Coot. Oh, do you think that important? I've an idea. It may come in useful. You've got some plan in your mind, Jimmy. What is it? The young hero never tells his plans, said Jimmy firmly. They mature in the dark. You are an idiot, Jimmy. I know. That's what everyone says. But I can assure you, Lorraine, there's a lot of brain work going on underneath. Now what about your plans? Got any? Bundle has suggested that I should go to Chimmy's with her for a bit. Excellent, said Jimmy approvingly. Nothing could be better. I like an eye kept on Bundle anyway. You never know what mad thing she won't be up to next. She's so frightfully unexpected. And the worst of it is, she's so astonishingly successful. I tell you, keeping Bundle out of mischief is a whole-time job. Bill ought to look after her, suggested Lorraine. Bill's pretty busy elsewhere. Don't you believe it, said Lorraine. What? Not the Countess? But the lad's potty about her. Lorraine continued to shake her head. There's something there I don't quite understand. But it's not the Countess with Bill. It's Bundle. Why, this morning Bill was talking to me when Mr. Lomax came out and sat down by Bundle. He took her hand or something, and Bill was off like a rocket. What a curious taste some people have, observed Mr. Thesiger. Fancy anyone who was talking to you wanted to do anything else. But you surprised me very much, Lorraine. I thought our simple Bill was enmeshed in the toils of the beautiful foreign adventuress. Bundle thinks so, I know. Bundle may, said Lorraine. But I tell you, Jimmy, it isn't so. Then what's the big idea? Don't you think it possible that Bill is doing a bit of sleuthing on his own? Bill? He hasn't got the brains. I'm not so sure. When a simple, muscular person like Bill does set out to be subtle, no one ever gives him credit for it. And in consequence, he can put in some good work. Yes, there's something in that. But all the same, I'd never have thought of Bill. He's doing the Countess's little woolly lamb to perfection. I think you're wrong, Lorraine. The Countess is an extraordinarily beautiful woman. Not my type, of course, put in Mr. Thesiger hastily. And old Bill has always had a heart like an hotel. Lorraine shook her head, unconvinced. Well, said Jimmy, have it your own way. We seem to have more or less settled things. You go back with Bundle to Chimney's, and for heaven's sake, keep her from poking about in that 7 Dials place again. Heaven knows what will happen if she does. Lorraine nodded. And now, said Jimmy, I think a few words with Lady Coot would be advisable. Lady Coot was sitting on a garden seat doing wool work. The subject was a disconsolate and somewhat misshapen young woman weeping over an urn. Lady Coot made room for Jimmy by her side, and he promptly, being a tactful young man, admired her work. Do you like it? Said Lady Coot, pleased. It was begun by my Aunt Selina the week before she died. Cancer of the liver. Poor thing. How beastly, said Jimmy. And how's the arm? Oh, it's feeling quite all right. Bit of a nuisance and all that, You'll have to be careful, said Lady Coot in a warning voice. I've known blood poisoning set in, and in that case you might lose your arm altogether. Oh, I say, I hope not. I'm only warning you, said Lady Coot. Where are you hanging out now? Inquired Mr. Thesiger. Town or where? Considering that he knew the answer to his query perfectly well, he put the question with a praiseworthy amount of ingenuousness. Lady Coot sighed heavily. Sir Oswald has taken the Duke of Alton's place. Leatherbury. You know it, perhaps? Oh, rather. Topping place, isn't it? Oh, I don't know, said Lady Coot. It's a very large place, and gloomy, Rows of picture galleries with such forbidding-looking people. What they call old masters are very depressing, I think. You should have seen a little house we had in Yorkshire, Mr. Thesiger, when Sir Oswald was plain Mr. Coot. Such a nice lounge hall, and a cheerful drawing room, with an ingle nook, a white striped paper with a frieze of wisteria I chose for it. I remember. Satin stripe. Not moire. Much better taste, I always think. The dining room faced northeast, so we didn't get much sun in it, but with a good bright scarlet paper and a set of those comic hunting prints. Why? It was as cheerful as Christmas. In the excitement of these reminiscences, Lady Coot dropped several little balls of wool, which Jimmy dutifully retrieved. "Thank you, my dear," said Lady Coot. "Now, what was I saying? Oh, about houses. Yes, I do like a cheerful house, and choosing things for it gives you an interest. I suppose Sir Oswald will be buying a place of his own one of these days," suggested Jimmy. "And then you can have it just as you like." Lady Coot shook her head sadly. "Sir Oswald talks of firm doing it, and you know what that means." "Oh, but they consult you. It will be one of those grand places, all for the antique. They'd look down on the things I call comfortable and homey. Not but that Sir Oswald wasn't very comfortable and satisfied in his home always, and I dare say his tastes are just the same underneath. But nothing will suit him now but the best. He's got on wonderfully, and naturally he wants something to show for it, but many's the time I wonder where it will end." Jimmy looked sympathetic. "It's like a runaway horse," said Lady Coot. "Got the bit between its teeth, and away it goes. It's the same with Sir Oswald. He's got on, and he's got on, till he can't stop getting on. He's one of the richest men in England. But does that satisfy him? No, he wants still more. He wants to be, I don't know what he wants to be. I can tell you, it frightens me sometimes." "Like the Persian Johnny," said Jimmy, "who went about wailing for fresh worlds to conquer." Lady Coot nodded acquiescence without much knowing what Jimmy was talking about. "What I wonder is, will his stomach stand it?" she went on tearfully. "To have him an invalid, with his ideas, oh, it won't bear thinking of." "He looks very hearty," said Jimmy, consolingly. "He's got something on his mind," said Lady Coot. "Worried, that's what he is." "I know. What's he worried about?" "I don't know. Perhaps something at the works. It's a great comfort for him having Mr. Bateman. Such an earnest young man, and so conscientious." "Marvelously conscientious," agreed Jimmy. "Oswald thinks a lot of Mr. Bateman's judgment. He says that Mr. Bateman is always right. That was one of his worst characteristics years ago," said Jimmy feelingly. Lady Coot looked slightly puzzled. "That was an awfully jolly weekend I had with you at Chimney's," said Jimmy. "I mean, it would have been awfully jolly if it hadn't been for poor old Jerry kicking the bucket. Jolly nice girls." "I find girls very perplexing," said Lady Coot. "Not romantic, you know." "Why? I embroidered some handkerchiefs for Sir Oswald with my own hair when we were engaged." "Did you?" said Jimmy. "How marvelous. But I suppose girls haven't got long enough hair to do that nowadays." "That's true," admitted Lady Coot. "But oh, it shows in lots of other ways. I remember when I was a girl, one of my young men picked up a handful of gravel, and a girl who was with me said at once that he was treasuring it because my feet had trodden on it. Such a pretty idea, I thought, though it turned out afterwards that he was taking a course of mineralogy, or do I mean geology, at a technical school. But I liked the idea, and stealing a girl's handkerchief and treasuring it, all those sort of things. Awkward if the girl wanted to blow her nose," said the practical Mr. Thesiger. Lady Coot laid down her wool work and looked searchingly but kindly at him. "Come now," she said. "Isn't there some nice girl that you fancy, that you'd like to work and make a little home for?" Jimmy blushed and mumbled. "I thought you got on very well with one of those girls at Chimney's that time, Vera Daventry." "Socks. They do call her that," admitted Lady Coot. "I can't think why. It isn't pretty." "Oh, she's a topper," said Jimmy. "I'd like to meet her again. She's coming down to stay with us next weekend." "Is she?" said Jimmy, trying to infuse a large amount of wistful longing into the two words. "Yes. Would you like to come?" "I would," said Jimmy heartily. "Thanks ever so much, Lady Coot." And reiterating fervent thanks, he left her. Sir Oswald presently joined his wife. "What has that young jackanapes been boring you about?" he demanded. "I can't stand that young fellow." "He's a dear boy," said Lady Coot, "and so brave. Look how he got wounded last night." "Yes, messing around where he'd no business to be." "I think you're very unfair, Oswald. Never done an honest day's work in his life. A real waster, if there ever was one. He'd never get on if he had his way to make in the world." "You must have got your feet damp last night," said Lady Coot. "I hope you won't get pneumonia. Freddie Richards died of it the other day." "Dear me, Oswald, it makes my blood run cold to think of you wandering about with a dangerous burglar loose in the grounds. He might have shot you. I've asked Mr. Thesiger down for next weekend, by the way." "Nonsense," said Sir Oswald. "I won't have that young man in my house. Do you hear, Maria?" "Why not? That's my business." "I'm so sorry, dear," said Lady Coot placidly. "I've asked him now, so it can't be helped. Pick up that ball of pink wool, will you, Oswald? Sir Oswald complied, his face black as thunder. He looked at his wife and hesitated. Lady Coote was placidly threading her wool needle. I particularly don't want Thesiger down next weekend, he said at last. I've heard a good deal about him from Bateman. He was at school with him. What did Mr. Bateman say? He'd no good to say of him. In fact, he warned me very seriously against him. He did he? Said Lady Coote thoughtfully, and I have the highest respect for Bateman's judgment. I've never known him wrong. Dear me, said Lady Coote, what a mess I seem to have made of things. Of course, I should never have asked him if I had known. You should have told me all this before, Oswald. It's too late now. She began to roll up her work very carefully. Sir Oswald looked at her, made as if to speak, then shrugged his shoulders. He followed her into the house. Lady Coote, walking ahead, wore a very faint smile on her face. She was fond of her husband, but she was also fond, in a quiet, unobtrusive, wholly womanly manner, of getting her own way. That friend of yours is a nice girl, Bundle, said Lord Caterham. Lorraine had been at Chimneys for nearly a week, and had earned the high opinion of her host, mainly because of the charming readiness she had shown to be instructed in the science of the mashie shot. Bored by his winter abroad, Lord Caterham had taken up golf. He was an execrable player, and in consequence was profoundly enthusiastic over the game. He spent most of his mornings lofting mashie shots over various shrubs and bushes, or, rather, essaying to loft them, hacking large bits out of the velvety turf, and generally reducing MacDonald to despair. We must lay out a little course, said Lord Caterham, addressing a daisy. A sporting little course. Now then, just watch this one, Bundle. Off the right knee, slow back, keep the head still, and use the wrists. The ball, heavily topped, scudded across the lawn and disappeared into the unfathomed depths of a great bank of rhododendrons. Curious, said Lord Caterham. What did I do then, I wonder? As I was saying, Bundle, that friend of yours is a very nice girl. I really think I am inducing her to take quite an interest in the game. She hit some excellent shots this morning, really quite as good as I could do myself. Lord Caterham took another careless swing and removed an immense chunk of turf. MacDonald, who was passing, retrieved it and stamped it firmly back. The look he gave Lord Caterham would have caused anyone but an ardent golfer to sink through the earth. If MacDonald has been guilty of cruelty to Coots, which I strongly suspect, said Bundle, he's being punished now. Why shouldn't I do as I like in my own garden? Demanded her father. MacDonald ought to be interested in the way my game is coming on. The Scotch are a great golfing nation. You poor old man, said Bundle. You'll never be a golfer, but at any rate it keeps you out of mischief. Not at all, said Lord Caterham. I did the long sixth in 5 the other day. The pro was very surprised when I told him about it. He would be, said Bundle. Talking of Coots, Sir Oswald plays a fair game, a very fair game. Not a pretty style, too stiff, but straight down the middle every time. But curious how the cloven hoof shows. Won't give you a 6-inch putt. Makes you put it in every time. Now I don't like that. I suppose he's a man who likes to be sure, said Bundle. It's contrary to the spirit of the game, said her father. And he's not interested in the theory of the thing, either. Says he just plays for exercise and doesn't bother about style. Now, that secretary chap, Bateman, is quite different. It's the theory interests him. I was slicing badly with my spoon, and he said it all came from too much right arm, and he evolved a very interesting theory. It's all left arm in golf. The left arm is the arm that counts. He says he plays tennis left-handed, but golf with ordinary clubs, because they're his superiority with the left arm tells. And did he play very marvelously? Inquired Bundle. No, he didn't, confessed Lord Caterham, but then he may have been off his game. I see the theory all right, and I think there's a lot in it. Did you see that one, Bundle? Right over the rhododendrons. A perfect shot. If one could be sure of doing that every time. Yes, Treadwell, what is it? Treadwell addressed Bundle. Mr. Thesiger would like to speak to you on the telephone, my lady. Bundle set off at full speed for the house, yelling Lorraine, Lorraine, as she did so. Lorraine joined her just as she was lifting the receiver. Hello, is that you, Jimmy? Hello, how are you? Very fit, but a bit bored. How's Lorraine? She's all right. She's here. Do you want to speak to her? In a minute. I got a lot to say. To begin with, I'm going down to the Coots for the weekend, he said significantly. Now, look here, Bundle, you don't know how one gets hold of skeleton keys, do you? Haven't the foggiest. Is it really necessary to take skeleton keys to the Coots? Well, I had a sort of idea they'd come in handy. You don't know the sort of shop one gets them at. What you want is a kindly burglar friend to show you the ropes. I do, Bundle, I do. And unfortunately, I haven't got one. I thought perhaps your bright brain might grapple successfully with the problem, but I suppose I shall have to fall back upon Stevens as usual. He'll be getting some funny ideas in his head soon about me. First a blue-nosed automatic, and now skeleton keys. He'll think I've joined the criminal classes. Jimmy, said Bundle. Yes. Look here. Be careful, won't you? I mean, if Sir Oswald finds you nosing around with skeleton keys, well, I should think he could be very unpleasant when he likes. Young man of pleasing appearance in the dock. All right, I'll be careful. Pongo's the fellow I'm really frightened of. He sneaks around so on those flat feet of his. You never hear him coming, and he always did have a genius for poking his nose in where he wasn't wanted. But trust to the boy hero. Well, I wish Lorraine and I were going to be there to look after you. Thank you, nurse. As a matter of fact, though, I have a scheme. Yes. Do you think you and Lorraine might have a convenient car breakdown near Leatherbury tomorrow morning? It's not so very far from you, is it? 40 miles. That's nothing. I thought it wouldn't be to you. Don't kill Lorraine, though. I'm rather fond of Lorraine. All right, then, somewhere around about 11:45 to 12:30, so that they invite us to lunch? That's the idea. I say, Bundle, I ran into that girl's socks yesterday, and what do you think? Terrence O'Rourke is going to be down there this weekend. Jimmy, do you think he... Well, suspect everyone, you know. That's what they say. He's a wild lad, and daring as they make them. I wouldn't put it past him to run a secret society. He and the Countess might be in this together. He was out in Hungary last year, but he could pinch the formula anytime. That's just what he couldn't. He'd have to do it under circumstances where he couldn't be suspected. But the retreat up the ivy and into his own bed, well, that would be rather neat. Now, for instructions. After a few polite nothings to Lady Coote, you and Lorraine are to get hold of Pongo and O'Rourke by hook or by crook and keep them occupied till lunchtime. See? It oughtn't to be difficult for a couple of beautiful girls like you. You're using the best butter, I see. A plain statement of fact. Well, at any rate, your instructions are duly noted. Do you want to talk to Lorraine now? Bundle passed over the receiver and tactfully left the room. And now, the truth is nearly revealed. With every step forward, the mystery becomes clearer, but so does the danger. Just one final piece remains before everything falls into place. If you've enjoyed the journey so far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means a lot as we approach the final moments. The conclusion is coming, and it promises to be unforgettable. So see you soon.